Hello, good evening, and welcome to Joy News Prime live from our studio here in Accra. We're live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 125. Around the world, it's on myjoyonline.com. Coming up, ECOWAS orders activation of its standby force after its ultimatum to Niger's military junta elapsed. Details, as it says, no option has been taken off the table. Also, fresh details emerge about what the special prosecutor discovered in former sanitation minister's initial complaint to the police as he retrieves $590,000 and 2.7 million cedis from Cecilia Dapaah's residence. We'll tell you how much the special prosecutor found when he assessed the total transactions on the former minister's frozen bank account over a period. Also, the Bank of Ghana justifies the decision to spend up to $250 million on a new headquarters, insisting the old office cannot withstand earthquakes and other earth tremors. Now, ECOWAS has ordered the activation of its standby force after its ultimatum to Niger's military junta elapsed. Now, a communique after a meeting of heads of state of the regional bloc in Nigeria said all options are still on the table. Niger's elected president, Mohamed Bazoum, was ousted at the end of last month, and the coup leaders have since resisted diplomatic attempts to resolve the crisis. President of ECOWAS Commission, Omar Aliou Toure, read the decision of the summit.
C. Uphold all measures and principles agreed upon by the extraordinary summit held on Niger on 30th July 2023. Underscore the determination of the ECOWAS authority to keep all options on the table for the peaceful resolution of the crisis. Enforce all measures, in particular border closures and strict travel bans and assets freeze, on all persons or groups of individuals whose actions hinder all peaceful efforts aimed at ensuring the smooth and complete restoration of constitutional order. Warn member states who, by their action directly or indirectly, hinder the peaceful resolution of the crisis in Niger about the consequences for their action before the community. Call on the African Union to endorse all the decisions taken by the ECOWAS authority on the situation in Niger. Further call on all partner countries and institutions, including the United Nations, to support ECOWAS in its effort to ensure a quick restoration of constitutional order in conformity with its normative instruments. Direct the President of the Commission to monitor the implementation of the sanctions.
He also expressed concern for the health and safety of the democratically elected president who has spent more than 2 weeks under house arrest.
Reiterates its strong condemnation of the attempted coup d'etat and the continued illegal detention of President Mohamed Bazoum, his family and members of his government. B. Further condemns the condition in which President Bazoum is being detained and hold the CNSP fully and solely responsible for the safety, security and physical integrity of President Bazoum, members of his family and government.
Now, Austin Agbe is an alum of the African Leadership Forum, ALF, and member of the International Public Service Association, IPSA. Austin is also a global affairs analyst and joins me via Zoom with more. Now, Austin, grateful for joining us here. What is the implication of this decision? Austin, kindly unmute so we can hear what you're telling us.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I said, thanks for having me again. It's been an awesome follow-through what's happening in Niger, particularly with today's resolution. We thought that ECOWAS was going to play down on the military intervention. ECOWAS was going to amplify the diplomatic channels to strengthen all of the gap that existed with the first threat, particularly the sanctions and all of the things again that's still on the table, like they have said. So technically, nothing has changed. So we are back to the conversation that the possibility there will be a military invasion in Niger is very high. In any case, there's actually a military intervention right now in Niger with a rebel group that came up yesterday and announced a possible counter measure to regain the country from military junta and get back to the constitutional order. And that rebel group has said that they were backing ECOWAS. I'm already thinking the invisible hand again. That imagine military intervention. There's a rebel group. Was it yesterday or this morning? There was an attack, and some rebel groups were freed. Suspicious of military junta is suspecting that possibly it was France who did it. That they moved all the way from Cameroon to make the strike. You see, all of those conversation is on, and I'm curious that ECOWAS will want to go in between to make a stand and insist on a military intervention. If ECOWAS does go ahead with the military intervention from the outside, I'm particular about, because like I said, there's already military intervention internally. If there's an outside force coming in from Ghana, from Nigeria, from Sierra Leone, from Liberia, from Senegal, and Cote d'Ivoire and Co., if they come in, I see a monumental damage to the West Africa region. Monumental. Because it is clear that the heads of government are only protecting their own. Okay. Mohamed Bazoum is one of theirs. None of them are thinking about the citizens. You are going with military invasion into a country where you have defenseless civilians, women and children that may be armed, and you have set up, you have put your military architecture on standby.
But what could they have done when the junta has resisted any attempt to use any other alternative to resolve the matter?
So what would have been done, which is consistently been done, is to place sanctions. And you have done your sanctions. In any case, we talked about ECOWAS missing the beginning of negotiation. Rather than negotiate, they actually went to confront the junta. And I've said consistently, the strategy wasn't the right one. Apparently, ECOWAS is now ashamed that they are unable to consistently stand to reverse their decision. It will be misnomer. It will be like a shame on ECOWAS to say, what now happens to your military intervention? You are backed out? Come on, it's a shame. So ECOWAS doesn't want to back out. ECOWAS wants to maintain its stand as the regional government and to insist that the constitutional order must be restored in Niger. But there are many alternatives. Now, I'm sure you are aware of the former Emir of Kano, former CBN governor, who went in and had fantastic conversations. Can we explore those conversations further? I know that Sanusi has gone ahead to brief the president of Nigeria, who is the chair of ECOWAS. What was the discussion about? Was the discussion to engage in military intervention? I don't know.
No, but they've said that all other options are still on the table.
What are the options? The option is sanctions, no-fly zone, freezing of accounts, and all of those. Those are the options that are on the table. The last of the options is military intervention. And the last of the option, which is military intervention, is actually number one because the forces are being activated and put on standby. So the other options are supplementary to the military intervention, in my opinion. Okay.
Now, is it economically prudent for member states to want to contribute to this action?
It will be detrimental to every country who will put in their forces to try to restore whatever in Niger. We need peace in Niger. We need constitutional order in Niger. We need the military junta to pull out. We need them. But the consequence, recognizing the Sahel region, which is already dominated with conflict and violence, that may have the possibility of a snowball effect. What you are saying is that if Ghana, with the youth crisis and all of the things we hear from Ghana, we hear from Nigeria, many unions are going on strike. Yesterday, the doctors just suspended their own strike. We need money to restore dignity. As we speak, the country Nigeria is facing an economic crisis. The US dollar is close to being 1,000 naira. And the implication is on the increase in fuel subsidy have been removed. And you check across the community. Is it Sierra Leone? Okay. Is it Liberia that have election in October? No, it is not economic. There is no economic benefit.
Okay.
The only benefit is that one of
some people are also calling on Algeria to lead the negotiations where they could lead us, since they have some kind of relationship. What do you make of such suggestion?
Which country is that? I didn't hear that question.
I mean, some people are calling on Algeria to lead the negotiations with those people because they seem to have some kind of relationship with the junta. What do you make of this suggestion?
Well, first of all, I doubt if ECOWAS will want to engage Algeria. Algeria is out of the area. And you saw the threat, the very strong threat by the ECOWAS, as read by the Commission's president, that any member state that go against the decision of ECOWAS should, even though he didn't put the sanction properly, but we know what that means. He has told you, if you go against, and that is a clear message sent to Mali and Burkina Faso, who had offered to support Niger. Algeria will be at the level of AU. Since the ECOWAS have asked AU to support the decision of ECOWAS, and of course the United Nations, the EU, the AU and the United Nations can speak to Algeria because of the relationship that they had to intervene and make a peaceful resolution.
All right, grateful to you for joining us. Yeah, to other stories. Senior research fellow at the Institute for Fiscal Studies, IFS, says the criticism of the Bank of Ghana after it announced the loss of 60 billion cedis in 2022 is unjustified. It has been a busy last 24 hours for the Bank of Ghana, which has been trying to explain away the unprecedented 60 billion cedis losses recorded by the bank in 2022 and some expenditure. In particular, the minority had taken aim at the new Bank of Ghana head office, which is being constructed at a cost of $250 million US. We'll hear from Dr. Sahib Watcher shortly, but first, this is what our cameras captured at the new Bank of Ghana headquarters site. So this is Ridge. What you're seeing behind me is the new Bank of Ghana head office. It is directly opposite the Ridge Hospital and also adjacent the Fidelity head office within the Ridge area. It's also close to the Ghana Maritime Authority office here. So if you know Ridge, it is within this enclave that the new building is. These are two structures, both comprising several levels of, of offices. Now, the first one, I've been there, I counted between 9 and 11. The second one, which is, of course, the one in front, would also have between about 12 levels, because my eye can see up to the 9th level, and there are 3 more above the 9th. Now, the first one, which is about between 9 and 11, has an underground. What we know from what we saw was that steel benders are seriously on site working to ensure that they make the structures available for concrete works to be done to form some of the pillars at, I think, on the 6th level. All the levels have numbers by them. Where the workers are is the one they've labeled L6, which tell us that it could be the level 6. So this is what they're doing. But I conferred from some of them and really saw on the frontage of the helmet they wore that the name of the company in charge is Gold Key. And they tell me it's Gold Key Development. That's the company executing the project. They've already erected the structure itself. What they're doing now is to, I think, reinforcement going on, and then the final work would also take place. So that is what is happening here at Ridge at the new Bank of Ghana building. Now, beside it, beside this tall building, there is another building that is not as tall as this, and a very large area that we anticipate to be used as a car space. It's really a huge building. As for that, I should really admit that it's a huge building. They've said that the old one is not earthquake resistant, so you expect that this has been built with a technology that makes it an earthquake resistant one. Unfortunately, the safety officers I met 3 of them. They weren't willing to speak to us, but I'm sure in due time when the expert or the consultant on this building come out, they can then give us some more facts about this building. But from what we've seen, that is how it looks. It looks like the work is progressing steadily. The whole structure has been, erected. They are doing final works, and then probably the finishing works will be done as well. That is what we've known since we've been here. Now, economist and senior research fellow at the Institute of Fiscal Studies, Dr. Sahib Watcher, said the Bank of Ghana cannot be blamed for the losses it suffered because the year under review was tumultuous.
People should cut the Bank of Ghana a flag. In that, what happened in 2022 was very planned a budget. The first quarter, they have planned to go and borrow $4 billion from the Eurobond bond market. As a result of the downgrade, the country was virtually blocked from that market. Meanwhile, the government had done its own planning. What we should also understand is that it is not easy for government to retrench many or the biggest part of this budget. Look at compensation of employees, debt service, and others, which are even more than revenue. Secondly, revenue also underperformed. The Bank of Ghana had to step in, and everybody has to understand this. Everybody has to understand this. The Bank of Ghana had to step in. In addition to IMF also has to understand that. And that is why in our review of the IMF program, you tell IMF that you cannot put that block, that limit on our Bank of Ghana intervention. That is what is done everywhere in the world. When the central bank is in deep fiscal trouble, deep liquidity trouble, the central bank has to step in. So definitely the Bank of Ghana has to step in. Even though I do not know the amount involved that was supposed to be involved. And if they had overdone it, it's another thing. But just saying that the Bank of Ghana stepped in and has led to Bank of Ghana losses is not here.
It is a constantly moving story which appears to be never-ending in twists and turns. You'll be right to target, quote, the Cecilia Dapaah shifting story, unquote. Now, Joy News is learning of fresh details regarding what a special prosecutor discovered in former sanitation minister's initial complaint to the police. It comes on a day we discovered the exact amount a special prosecutor retrieved from a home. We're now also learning about how much the special prosecutor found when he assessed the total transactions on the former minister's frozen bank account over a period. Isaac Kofi is with our research and data team, and as always, joins me in the studio with a breakdown of the figures. Kofi, what are we learning?
Indeed, such an undulating story, and if you can see on your screens, what we are trying to do is to value the total amount involved in this whole Cecilia Dapaah saga. So we start from the basic, the amount stolen, the cash stolen, which was reported to the police. We did some,
so from the charge sheet.
Exactly, it is from the charge sheet. So we just converted from cedis and euros to dollars, so we can have one basic currency to have. So when we did for the cash stolen, we are looking around $1.4 million that was stolen in this Cecilia Dapaah case. We go to the next slide, and it talks about, if you can have the next slide on, talking about other things. This is the wares that were stolen in this Cecilia Dapaah case. So we are looking at 6 pieces of assorted kente cloth. It was around $9,000. We have other suits at $3,000. The total wares we are looking at right now is around $150,000. That's wares in this, saga alone. Let's look at another one. If you can have the next slide on the screen, bank details, and this, this is what is actually causing the whole controversy. So you look at dollar transactions over a period that the OSP assessed. We're looking at $5 million. $5 million. The CD in her account at this juncture was around $48 a million Ghana cedi. If you convert using an exchange of $1 to 10 cedis, is around $4.8 million.
So this is over a period.
Over a period.
It is not like what is stuck in there now.
Not at all. Over a period, that was a transaction, her dollar transaction in one of her accounts. Investment, 100,000 Ghana dollars. Cash in bank is around 70,000 dollars. If you sum this, you are looking around 9.96, almost 10 million dollars. Let's look at the last but one, which is the cash that was retrieved from a home. $590,000 CD. If you do the conversion, we are looking around $273,000. Now let's look at the total. That is where you see the whole Cecilia Dapaah case. Cash stolen 1.4, words 153,000, bank details almost $10 million. Amount retrieved from a home is around $863,000. If you add all of this, Brace, we are looking at $12.4 million in this whole saga. So we are looking at the amount in the account, transactions, were stolen, and what was reported on the charge sheet. So there you have it, 12.4 million, and this is an undulating story. It's still happening. It keeps changing. We hope to see what maybe we can add more, or I don't know what will change. All right, but that's what we have. We've been doing the calculations for you, and you have it, $12.4 million.
Interesting, and that's how the story, as he said it, keeps changing, is one that you expect to change at the spur of the moment. We'll take a quick break. We'll return with more stories here. Stay with us. Welcome back from the break. Now, an inspirational Ghanaian has developed a beautiful natural homestead where he keeps animals for business and conserves the environment by converting degraded land into forest. After some winning leading to a degraded land about 24 years ago, the enclave at Domiabra near Ejiso in the Ashanti region is now a one-of-a-kind farm surrounded by forest. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin visited a homestead for Climate Focus.
So when I came, I found out that some of the parts, the land is being used as a sign-winning area, and for that you cannot plant anything. So I consulted the Agric Ministry, and they introduced me to the Fisheries Department, and they told me that we can just repair some of the pits to make a fish pond.
To me, I always say that this place is a little heaven, because from the Bible we all understand that Adam and Eve started from a garden, and the garden comprises so many trees and different types. So I brought a discussion with my dad that why don't you go into different types of plants? Since this place is an eco-tour site, people will come and learn things from here. So we decided to plant. We have the jackfruit, we have star fruits, we have in local dialects we call prekese. We have so many plants around that people also come. Some come for it for medicinal purposes, some come for research purposes, some also come for tour sites. So this were the inspiration behind it. That's why we created so many plants here.
Today on Climate Focus, we are here at Kuma Farms. We would like to find out what was the motivation to convert a degraded land into a useful one. In fact, when you come here, you would see a lot of trees, you will see different kinds of animals here, and you would be amazed on how this particular land was converted into a useful one.
And I was awarded the District Best Farmer and Metro Best Farmer in 1998. So that gingers me to go into more farming?
Since most of the animals, they were found in the, let me say, they were found outside of the natural environment.
Okay.
The fact that we brought them here, that means you have to detain them from their natural habitats. So we decided to leave the place just as it is so that they will feel at home. Because in case we make any changes, they might think they have been captured in a particular place that they will not feel comfortable.
62-year-old Nana Kwekusia established the 15-acre Kuma Farm Complex Training Institute in February 1999 after 20 years of service as a transport officer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. He left to focus on restoring the environment.
The land was something like a place that they have wind sun, so it was not good for any agricultural purposes. But I decided that if it's closer to the swampy area, it can be used as fish farming, and so I started with that one and with some small livestock.
Excessive sun winning rendered the land here degraded and riddled with gullies. Nana Sia sought assistance from the fishery department to convert a portion of the land into fish ponds. He now has 4 departments on the farm.
That I'm having about 4 to 6 departments. That is the livestock, the aquaculture, mangoes, and that is the tree, and then the poultry, then small game.
Nana Sia's efforts have earned him recognition as a farmer and friend of the environment.
2002, I won the National Best Aquaculture, and in 2004, I won the 2nd National Best Farmer, and a lot of awards that I've received, like the Menchia Excellence Business Award.
I always say that this place is a little heaven.
After studying BSc Agriculture at KUST, his 31-year-old second daughter, Teresa Ohenewa Kuma, has joined him to further turn the area into a wonderful part of nature.
We have antelopes around, we have geese, we have python. They normally call royal python. We have the python here, which is in the 8th cage. And we also have African giant tortoise, which is 82 years of age, and it is 77 kg. Of it, I think it might be heavier than you. We have it here. And we also have the African dwarf crocodile. We also have them here. We have those local birds here, and we have different types of ducks. The ducks we have here, we have the local ones and we have the foreign ones, and most of them have their names being posted around.
This is a serene, cool environment with pure air.
So when you are here, you can get a very nice breeze from the pond and passes through the greens, and you see everything is very perfect for that. So I decided not to cut off all these trees, but to maintain it and even plant some.
The air here is very clean. It's not saturated because everything here is very natural. Yeah, since we have different types of plants around, each and every plant has its own medicinal purposes. So as we inhale it, we are not just inhaling only the air, but you're also inhaling some medicines in it, which can also induce in you and can work on your system very clean.
Nana Sia and his daughter's greatest goal is that people recognize the value of soil and land, since without fertile and productive soil, humanity cannot progress. A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
Such an exciting space. Now, a less expensive form of dialysis for people suffering from kidney failure involves filling the abdomen with fluid and draining the fluid to rid the body of waste. The method known as peritoneal dialysis is done manually or automatically using a machine called automated cycler. Now, this automated cycler, which does the exchange of fluid for a patient at night, is imported and can be financially stressful for the poor. Biomedical engineering students of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology have been able to build a less expensive cycler. Love FM's Cecilia Dapaah has more for Tech Thursday.
have these two procedures that we do. That's hemodialysis, that we use the hemodialysis machine. Now, statistics shows that the number of hemodialysis machine in the country isn't much, and so mostly they are being they are expensive. They are very expensive, and so this procedure is mostly being used. The manual continuous ambulatory peritoneal dialysis, which we have automated. The traditional procedure is being used in the hospital, mostly for the children, at the children's ward. And so we sitting back and looking at the challenge that we have as a country, that hemodialysis machine, they are not enough in the country, and most of them are being owned by government hospitals, and hence the price are very high for one procedure. And so we do this also to subsidize the cost, and also it can be used in the hospital, and then as well as being used in the house. Another part of it is that with the traditional continuous ambulatory peritoneal dialysis, it's a labor intensive. With the traditional continuous ambulatory peritoneal dialysis procedure, there is the inflow, the dwell time, and then the drain. Okay, so with the inflow, the mechanism that they employ is gravity, where they hang the dialysate bag on an IV pole, and then they open the channel for it to flow into the peritoneum cavity. And then when it's done, they close the valve. That's manually done. They switch the valve for a dwell time, which depends on the peritoneum cavity of the patient. So it can go from 30 minutes to an hour or more, 5 hours. Okay, so with this procedure, we didn't want to change the identity of it, so we kept some part of the traditional continuous ambulatory peritoneal dialysis, and we automated other parts. So the parts that we kept is the inflow part, where we use the gravity. So here you hang your dialysate bag, as my colleague is using. This is the dialysis. This is our dialysate bag for practical purposes. So you hang it, and then you allow for an inflow. So here we are performing the rinse. Okay, so as we pass through the dialysis from the dialysis bag, there is a motor in here. For the normal one, we use for the traditional one, we use gravity for the drain. But here we are employing a pump. So as you can see, as the water goes in here, it is being drained out here by the pump in the machine, which in turn speeds up the whole process. And it's safe because the normal pressure that's not going to affect the cavity of the human being is 10.3 kilopascal, and we calibrated our water pump in there with this value, so it's safe to use. So as and when the drain is done, you hear a buzzer indicating that it's done. Then the valve switches to a different procedure. This is the rinse. So then it goes to an inflow.
Now, MP for Subing Eugene Boakye entry says claims by President Akuffo that he does not support any of the presidential aspirants in the party's flag bearership race is a mere political gimmick. The president, in a meeting with party communicators, declared he has no interest in who wins the primaries, although he will vote for someone he can inflict defeat on the NDC. But speaking to Joy News, Eugene Boakye entry insisted that the president has a candidate he supports and probably marshalling executive power to support him.
So long as President Akuffo is going to vote in this election, he's supporting somebody.
I mean, talking about voting.
So bear with me. Okay. So long as he is the president as well as a delegate in this election, he's supporting somebody. If he says, I'm not going to vote, then fine. But once we are going to vote, and even in that same statement, the president said that we're going to vote somebody who was going to inflict a fair defeat on the NDC. That means the president has a choice. He has a preference. And if you're a president with executive power, with resources, are you going to sit, back and say the person should go on campaigning? Yeah. You do everything. If somebody supports you, they finance you, right? So let's put that aside. It's political talk, so let's put that aside. But I've given you a scenario in 2007 where there was this perceived establishment candidate, and that was Honorable Alan Chemate. And President Akuffo was a candidate in that election. I was with him in his office in Odorais, where he stated categorically, in a joint interview, you can go back. Yeah. You can go back and look for the claim that there was a perceived executive interference. Right?
Do you sense something like that in this election?
Oh, well, I don't know why you want to draw me back. I said in 2007, President Akuffo at the time told the whole country that he wasn't supporting anybody. Yeah. Was that the case? If that was the case, why would President Akuffo then, on the eve of the elections, say that there was a perceived interference in the election? You understand? So the fact that the president said that he doesn't support anybody doesn't mean that he doesn't support anybody. He supports somebody because he's going to vote.
Yeah. And I wanted to.
And if 10 people are contesting, yeah, who you've worked with, all of them, as ministers or as party people are contesting you. You know, 2 former campaign managers of yours. Yes. Wacheja and Apreku. Yeah. Right? And you say that you are going to vote in this election. And once you are going to vote, that means you have a choice. And that choice will be supported.
Could it not be that the president will vote, he has a choice, but will not do anything actively?
No, then what is the source of support?
Well, Eugene Boakye has also been lamenting what he calls the continuous flouting of the party's code of conduct. He cited the endorsement by leading figures of the party, including a former general secretary of the party. He describes the endorsement as indiscipline, which must be dealt with.
We don't learn as a party. That's a sad thing. Politicians don't learn. Because, I mean, a party had issued a code of conduct. And you rightly mentioned some names there. You know, these are senior members of the party flouting their own code of conduct. And let me tell you something, what actually happened. Now, to me, it's more humongous breach of protocol than what you just alluded to. We were in Kumasi for the national conference, yeah, I think in 2021. Yeah. And for the first time, I witnessed the president, Nana Akuffo, sit at the conference grounds for about 30 minutes before the vice president came to the grounds, you know, followed by MPs from the region. If that's no gross disrespect to the seat of the presidency, what is?
Because what normally happens is the president is usually the last person to come to the grounds.
Yes, the chief of staff will come, the vice president will come, and then the president will come. But the president sat in state, right? The cameras were on him for about 30 minutes. And we were literally about 20 meters away from him. Yeah. And all of a sudden, the vice president came with MPs. That is a more humongous breach of state protocol than even these endorsements. And I mean, you know, if we are going to go into a game here meaning election with rules, then we must all respect the rules. You understand? You cannot have people respecting it and people flouting it with impunity. And that is what is worrying. Because you see, you've seen all these things before, right? You have other members of the party denigrating other aspirants.
Now, former Trade Minister and flag-bearer hopeful of the New Patriotic Party, Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen, says the party must elect a candidate who is marketable enough to represent the MPP in the 2024 general elections. Speaking to delegates across some constituencies in the Ashanti region, he touted his quest to lead the MPP as a, quote, national call, unquote, saying he is the only candidate who can win over 2 million votes for the party in the Ashanti region. Nana Boakye reports from Kumasi.
Alan Chematin has taken his campaign tour to the Ashanti region ahead of the MPP's Superdelegates Conference and the November 4th presidential primary. Flanked by some constituency chairmen, members of parliament and other figures of the party, he urged delegates to elect a marketable candidate to lead the MPP to election victory in 2024.
Why are you ready to have a opposition? When you are ready, I am Mr. Mupi. Me person what you say. Say one person who opposition here.
If you are not ready to go into opposition, then listen to the plea of Ghanaians. They constitute the over 6 million people to help us break the 8.
Breaking the 8 year number you did to your delegates, Yamuna Muberi, you know. Nipa of the premise here are your two Obama MPP. Any Ghana phone na one mona a bet me out to Abba, Ama MPP are breaking 8.
Meanwhile, Mr. Chematin has been receiving endorsements from party chairmen across the region. You are the kingmakers. Your decision is final, and I know you will give your support to Alan Chematin. I believe after your speech, they will listen and ask me to also vote for you. Former Member of Parliament for Evaluate Ajamoro Jura constituency, Catherine Afeku, says delegates must remain resolute in electing a candidate who can win the presidency and not just a flag bearer.
And for the past 4 months, we've been traveling the length and breadth of the country, telling the delegates that you need to choose a flag bearer who can become a president, not just a flag bearer. And it resonates with the people in Ashanti region. The people genuinely know that it's his time. And that is...
Welcome back. Time for us to do showbiz, and Becky Beggs is here. She's bringing the E-Vibe spirit, you know.
Very soon you'll be getting new episodes of E-Vibes.
I was going to say the lady who has printed E-Vibes and everyone just everyone E-Vibes. You know, I have to have one at the back of my car.
Don't we love E-Vibes? We love E-Vibes. But we love Diana Hamilton as well.
Yeah.
And you know that she has a song out, Say Amen. Yeah. She was on Joy Prime early this morning, and she's been talking about, you know, the song, what inspired the song, how she wrote the song, and exactly what the song is about. Brace, are you taking care of yourself?
I think I am.
You think, well, because, well, if you're not, Black Sheriff says that you should take care of yourself. The musician today released a project which has got social media talking, and he calls it Take Care of Yourself, Blacko, off the back of his debut, the Villain I Never Was album. This new one is already being tipped as another set that looks to take the music scene to another level. My colleague Kenneth Auchedako tells us
This project first showed up on the radar back in June, where Black Sheriff won the Vodafone Ghana Music Award Artist of the Year, where he also announced that there was going to be an EP later this year, which is titled at the time KK Pack. Now, weeks and months passed, not much was heard about it, but finally, after some expectations, the project is out. But this time it has, you know, a very interesting name, which is Take Care of Yourself, Blacko, which has garnered a lot of, you know, attention on social media today. Now, another interesting thing about this project today is that he exhibits his alter ego, which he calls Yaya KK, and this alter ego makes its way onto one of the songs on the, you know, the 2-track, you know, EP, where he calls it Yaya, and there he, you know, exhibits a lot of you know, dexterity when it comes to his struggles and turning them into wins, and also using this as encouragement for other people who are, you know, in his space as well. Now, if you have followed music, this gentleman's trajectory, the 21-year-old Black Sheriff, you would realize that a lot of analysts have placed him, you know, between a high life artist and a hip hop artist. Now, this song titled Simmer Down, which is the second one on the 2-track EP, is where he, you know, displays a lot of this skill that analysts have, you know, touted of him being, you know, one of the people who are able to blend the high life genre and the hip hop culture in a very seamless manner. These songs have basically generated a lot of conversation on social media. You know, he himself has tweeted that this is an era that you are witnessing when it comes to his craft himself, and looks like a lot of his fans on social media kind of agree with that, because I receive a lot of, you know, warm compliments amongst others. But there are some others who are also raising concern about the fact that, you know, Black Sheriff likes to make mention of a certain substance that, you know, is kind of frowned upon by most people in these parts where we come from. And so the reactions have been mixed. But Black Sheriff does not seem perturbed about these criticisms, because he has been tweeting a lot about how much he loves the project himself. Now, you know, if he, the artist, says that is what makes the music right, I mean, there's not much that we can do about it as fans. And so, Becky, Black Sheriff says, take care of yourself.
For the news this evening, we are grateful for your company. Please join us tomorrow on Joy News Prime. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com.